Do you like games? I like games. Do you like games too? I like games too. I like games too.
Hey, I'm Peter Franson from ChristianGeekCentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions, and here I'm gonna just kind of wrap up my thoughts on E3 and talk about the two highlights that I had from the PC gaming show, and then also just kind of like my highlights as I checked out various games on the digital show floor, as it were, just kind of checking out video game demos that were put out by various press outlets. So first off, the PC gaming show, it went pretty well. I mean, for their first time out the gate, I felt like it was pretty well done. You know, there was a little bit of filler, and it was kind of obvious when AMD was coming out and, like, you know, plugging their stuff, showing their wares. But I mean, that's also part of what E3 is about. So I mean, you know, it's hard to, you know, it's to criticize AMD at their own, you know, at the show that they are helping to host. Hard to criticize them for coming out and saying, hey, here's our latest hardware and stuff, and trying to sell you on it, you know. I thought it was very informative in terms of games as well, and you know, it was a good show. The two highlights for me, though, were Killing Floor 2, which is like a big, like, zombie type apocalypse maybe shooter with like lots of blood and guts, and it's just really super violent and stuff. And I'm not a fan of shooters because I just suck at them, but I was interested because John Gibson, the president of Tripwire Interactive, was on the show, the PC gaming show, wearing a Living Sacrifice shirt, and I was like, Living Sacrifice, I think I've heard that name before, and I googled it, and it's a Christian death metal band. I thought, well, that's interesting, you know. And so I did a little bit more research and saw him in another photo op in 2013 wearing a Demon Hunter band t-shirt. These are both death metal Christian bands. Looked a little further, and this guy, John Gibson, president of Tripwire Interactive, is a self-identified believer. He's a Christian. And in fact, all the music in Killing Floor 2 is licensed from Christian metal bands. Apparently, Gibson used to be in one and has retained those connections, resulting in Christian bands being featured in the soundtrack of the upcoming, fairly anticipated, I believe, I'm not really part of that shooter culture, but I believe it's a fairly anticipated game, Killing Floor 2, and so all Christian bands featured in that soundtrack. So that really caught my eye, just as a believer who wants to support art made with excellence by Christians out in the mainstream. I mean, I think we should support Christians that are making art aimed at Christians. Obviously, I'm saying that selfishly because that's what I do. But I think we should also really get behind art being made by Christians with excellence that's being marketed at the mainstream. I mean, these are the kinds of efforts I think that we ought to encourage, so that these kinds of artists will enter and stay in those creative fields. I would love to see more of the rising generation get involved in creative industries like film and video games and writing and stuff like that. I mean, who knows what subtle but valuable influence their work may have on both believers and unbelievers. I mean, Killing Floor 2, just as an example, the soundtrack alone may eventually lead some gamers to the rescue of Jesus through them exploring the soundtrack, exploring the different bands and what they're inspired by. I mean, you just never know what God's going to use, and I think certainly some of these very subtle, non-preachy choices that Christians make when they're making excellent art in the mainstream could be awesome and have, you know, not just entertainment value, but could have potentially eternal impact, you know. So that's definitely something that, even though I'm not a fan of shooters, I want to, by word of mouth, just kind of put out there and say, hey guys, go check out, and maybe recommend to your friends if they're into those kinds of shooters. It's available now for early access on Steam, and it's coming to PlayStation 4. So now getting into my personal preferences, I suppose, much more from here on out. The second thing that really got my attention at the PC Gaming Show was the announcement of the Pillars of Eternity, the White March DLC, the White March Part 1 DLC, which I'm very excited about. I've been playing the crap out of Pillars of Eternity. Well, I shouldn't say playing the crap out of, just whenever I'm kind of in the mood for a more tactical experience. But I've really been enjoying it a lot, and so I will definitely be picking that up. I didn't see, like an announcement date for that, like a release date, so I don't know when it's coming. And there was very little in the teaser trailer that they offered, but I'm still definitely looking forward to it. Okay, now on to just kind of the various things I took in from media outlets, the closer looks at some games, and the first look for me at a number of games. First up, Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. I mentioned this when I talked about the Square Enix conference, but this game is really back on my radar as of now, because of what I found out in some interviews that the creators did, namely because of the promise that they made to improve combat and make it a more viable option. The problem I had with Deus Ex: Human Revolution that stopped me from playing all the way through it was that it seemed like after a while I was going to have to go to stealth, because I suck at shooters. I suck at anything requiring hand-eye coordination, and quick reflexes of any kind, and fast thinking. That's just not me. So I wasn't really into stealth games, so I was like, okay, I suck at the combat too much to go the combat route. I don't really want a full-on stealth experience through the whole game. Now and then is okay, but this is just going to require too much stealth for me. I'm not interested. But this promise to improve the combat to the point that it's a viable option if people want to go full combat all the way through, that's something that's really got me looking again at Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. Next game, Super Mario Maker. Now, I am not a Nintendo fan. I mean, I grew up on Nintendo, but I don't have any nostalgia for it. In fact, I hate Super Mario games because I suck at them, and I just end up dying and repeating the same portion of the game over and over and over and over and over again. But the creative side of me is really excited about Super Mario Maker and just seeing what people create. I'm not going to buy a console to see it, but I'm really looking forward to see what people create. It seems like this whole concept. I saw more of like some of the levels that are being created by people already, like the in-house play groups. And the stuff that they're creating is just off the wall. I mean, you could almost call it platform creator for the wildly, very un-Mario type of experiences already being made. It just looks like it could be a great thing for fans and for Nintendo, because fans are going to get a chance to make and play what they want versus what Nintendo thinks they want and has maybe been getting wrong for a while. And now Nintendo, through this, will also be able to see firsthand what fans want, because I have to believe that as people are, downloading in these different maps that players are creating, Nintendo's going to keep track of those numbers and say, oh, these are the kinds of gameplay experiences that our fans are interested in having. So I think this could be a great thing for the future of Nintendo. We'll see. I wish that I could show you some video, but Nintendo's YouTube policies just make me a little bit nervous, and I don't even want to fight that battle with them. So anyway, there you go. What else? Horizon Zero Dawn. This is a PS4 exclusive. I was like, okay, that looks cool when I saw it on the Sony stage, show. But I learned more about it afterward and kind of the prolonged demos that they had on the show floor. And this is a post-apocalyptic open world action RPG, and if I remember correctly, I even heard it quoted that it is gonna be have no loading screens and completely open world. That's very exciting to me, especially the no loading screens part. It is a single player experience. They were very clear on that, and it's got a cool like slow-mo combat feature, so even though it's an action game, it has some conceits that will allow sucky players like me to be able to enjoy the experience. And of course, with the RPG elements, I can presumably level grind my way out of crappy situations that require better skills than I have. That one's coming in 2016, but it looks awesome. I am very curious about the world where, it's post-apocalyptic, and, it's like there's these tribes that are surviving in a rejuvenated Earth that is overrun by machines that are like animals. They have herds and hunting patterns and stuff. It's looks really, really curious. So or it makes me curious, I should say. Can you say that something looks curious? I think you can, but I won't. Anyway, No Man's Sky. The one person, I think it was from GameSpot, who got to have a hands-on experience with it, described it as starting out like Minecraft with limited resources that you use to gain other resources and improve your ability to gain resources through crafting. So you're upgrading your suit, you're upgrading your weapon, which allows you to mine more effectively. You're upgrading your ship. You're upgrading your suit allows you to explore more areas. Upgrading your ship allows you to explore more areas. So it's this kind of this cycle that I guess would be similar to Minecraft, which I really haven't played very much at all. Of you mine stuff so that you can make stuff so that you can mine stuff, and then you're going forward more and more like that. So and this one also has the element of you mine stuff so you can make stuff so you can explore, and then mine more stuff so you can make stuff so you can explore, and so on and so forth. So that seems to be kind of the basic cycle, but then there are also these this practically infinite game world that looks tons better than Minecraft, and also has built-in systems of trade, and it has these living groups to interact with, like planetary protection enforcers. Some planets are under the protection of some kind of space police force, and you're not talking to these people, but you see their ships. They're represented through their actions, ships and stuff, and you have maybe like there are warring factions that are orbiting planets that you can just ignore, or you can get involved with and try to pick a side, in which case that they'll remember you taking a side, and the appropriate factions will remember that, and apparently you can upgrade your ship, but this seems to be like built on mystery. It seems to me, and to one commentator at I believe it was Game Trailers, I could be wrong, that mystery is a big intended part of the experience. That it's really about capturing that feeling that many early Minecraft players had of you're dumped into this world and you discover all these crafting recipes. And the same is true here, except you're also discovering maybe other things about the game, not just what you can make, but like what you can do and what's going on in this world. And so that kind of thing really excites me. I think I'm the kind of person that would have really gotten into Minecraft if not for those crappy graphics. I know they're retro and it's a whole aesthetic and stuff like that, but I grew up on Atari and Nintendo and Super Nintendo, and I'm fine to leave I'm more than content to leave blocky graphics behind. If somebody want to make Minecraft 2 that actually has current gen graphics or something even remotely in that direction, then I'd be excited. But anyway, it's also, this is important to me, not a simultaneous multiplayer experience. There will be evidence of other players inhabiting that universe through the information they upload to the main database. So you can discover a planet and it'll say discovered by blah, and it's called this and da da da. But you're not going to be interacting with other players, presumably. Maybe never as you play the game. That's kind of unclear. What I'm wondering, the big question in my mind about No Man's Sky, will it require a PlayStation Plus subscription? Because I don't play online games, but I'm very interested in this kind of an open world exploratory experience. But am I willing to pay whatever their subscription fee is annually or monthly or whatever in order to just play this one game, when I will otherwise not have any reason to take advantage of the other multiplayer features that are offered by PlayStation Plus? So that would be unfortunate to me if you're required to have PlayStation Plus in order to play this game. But other than that, I'm very excited about the potential of this. I still wish there was a release date, but we'll see. We'll see what Gamescom holds for us. Maybe we'll get lucky and they'll announce it there. Next game, Kingdom Come Deliverance. This is coming summer of 2016 to PC, Xbox One, and PS4. It's a sandbox medieval RPG, which normally I would not be into at all. Like, I need some kind of magic, some kind of fantasy, some kind of otherworldly aspect. And this game reportedly does not have that. I mean, they're even marketing it as, Dungeons, No Dragons. But it has so many other kinds of things that I like from an open world RPG, like, say, Skyrim, to which it's already being compared. It has an alchemy system, and that has me curious, because I'm like, well, what the heck is alchemy? I thought that was basically an attempt to do stuff like turn lead into gold and, kind of, have this kind of magical vibe to it. So they're not calling it chemistry, they're calling it alchemy, which is really curious to me. And they're not calling it medicinal skill or medicine, or whatever. They're calling it alchemy, which is really curious. I guess maybe I should just look up the definition of alchemy and see, if I don't know. It was just interesting that they said alchemy. But maybe that'll still be enough in and of itself, even if they don't allow a touch of kind of like the magical or supernatural or whatever fictional into that. Maybe it'll be enough to be making cures and things like that and medicines for people. I don't know. So I'm curious enough about that. It also has fantastic visuals. It's got lock picking in it and stuff. So I mean, in many ways, it feels like it's going to be a Skyrim type of experience, but without the magic. So at the very least, it has my attention. I'm going to be keeping an eye on that and wanting to learn more about it as we get closer to next summer. Moon Hunters. This is another independent game, and many of these are. Kingdom Come Deliverance certainly is. What else is No Man's Sky is an independent game, certainly not a AAA title. Yeah, so there we go. So, but anyway, Moon Hunters. This is a 1 to 4 player co-op action RPG. What's interesting to me about this is that there are group decisions that you make as a group. Now, you can play this just by yourself, but I think the idea is that you play it with other players as well, because your group makes decisions on plot choices with an in-game voting system, and the ties are broken by the leader, who is the person that currently has the highest charm score. So I thought that was very interesting, and those choices that you make are going to affect your reputation in the world in which you live and exist, and you're building, as you play this game, some kind of like a legend and a mythology about yourself that other people in the world believe and come to know about you. And so choices is fairly important, and I can see it being interesting to have this kind of tension of being with a group that, like, everyone votes to pillage the village and kill everybody there, and you vote not to, but you're still associated with them. I don't know how much your choices and reputation is going to be integrated, and how that's going to affect the game. I don't know. It looks simplistic because of the graphics. They're going for kind of like a retro style, but maybe there's more going on under the hood that will kind of be satisfying for an RPG player like me that would be interested in kind of creating a reputation in a world. And so anyway, it seems like a more RPG-ish alternative to other Gauntlet-style experiences, like, say, Magicka 2. So again, a lot I don't know. It's certainly not a guaranteed purchase, and to my knowledge, there's no release date given yet, but it's got my attention. I'm curious. What I may purchase, depending on the price, will be Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. This is coming out August 11th on PS4. It's an open-world, non-linear exploration and story discovery game, I guess you might say, in which you are apparently the last person left on Earth. You're exploring a small town in England, and as you're moving around this completely deserted environment, you come across these glowy, kind of clouds, these glowing clouds, that as you walk toward them, you start hearing the people's voices, and you realize, oh, these are kind of like echoes of people that were once here before this event, caused everyone to vanish except for yourself for unknown reasons. And so you're exploring this environment in whatever order you choose, and over the course of the game, you're piecing together what happened and what role you played in this event, if any, and what role you might play in how the world goes forward from here. So it looks like a beautiful game and very intriguing, and I'm always looking for a game that me and my wife can play. She's likes games that are about story and about choice and about exploration, and she also likes puzzle solving. And when I described this to her, she was like, I don't know, I think I might like a little bit more of an objective of some kind. This just sounds a little too open-ended. I want a goal, and so for her, maybe discovering what happened in the world it won't be enough. It's a very open-ended type of experience where reportedly you just play it until you get out of the game what you want, maybe until you've discovered how much of the story you think there is that you would like to discover. The developer, though, said that if you really did everything and went everywhere and stuff like that, you could get 5 to 6 hours out of the game. Ugh. That is a really, really short experience. Now, it is an independent developer, so I mean, that's not shocking to me, but still, it's like, okay, 5 to 6 hours max, and sometimes you have to kind of downgrade that estimate from developers, from what I understand, so maybe we're looking at 4 to 5 hours absolutely max, So what does that mean? If we don't do everything there is to do in the game, we're looking at a 2-hour experience, 3-hour experience. I don't know. So I mean, I'm not going to pay anything. Absolute max I would pay for this would be, I think, like $28, because I think that's about how much 2 times going to see a movie with my wife would cost. So yeah, I don't think I could pay more than $28 for this if it's only going to provide about one, maybe 2 nights of entertainment for me and my wife. I don't know. All right, next up, I'm not sure how you pronounce this. Masquerada. It looks like it should be pronounced Masquerada, so that's what I'm going to go with. Masquerada, Songs and Shadows. It looks like a tactical pause and play type game. I mean, that's how they describe it. It's, very much like Pillars of Eternity. They said it's inspired by the Baldur's Gate games and Neverwinter Nights. But the difference between this and those games that I noticed right away was the visual style. It's got an animated style, but not like a Saturday morning cartoony, but more like an adult animated style. I would almost say anime, but without the Japanese stylistic influences. But just like a high quality, kind of adult oriented type animation look to it. That kind of cell shaded look in what looks to be a unique fantasy setting, not the typical medieval type fantasy setting, but I'm not even sure. I'm not a history buff enough to be able to tell you kind of what the influences are, but it has just enough of a unique twist to the aesthetic that it's definitely got my interest. Hopefully the visual style they're going for will result in low system requirements, because I don't keep up with graphics cards and stuff like that. I'm just a console guy, but I mean, I do like to play games on my laptop every now and then when I'm on vacation or something like that. So this would be something that maybe would work for that. So, but it's going to be off my radar until I'm done with Pillars of Eternity and all the expansions, Shadowrun as well, and then also another game that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. All right, so moving on for now, The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing. This is first in a series of, so far 3 games. The third one I think is due to come out very soon. That's basically look like Diablo 3 clones to me. It's a PC series, but the first one now is coming to Xbox One. Looks really cool. I mean, the graphics, it just looks beautiful, but also dark. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really disappointed that I don't have an Xbox One right now, because this looks awesome. But then I noticed something about it. I was like, yeah, speaking of Diablo 3 clone, this looks a lot like Diablo 3 in that you are swarmed by enemies. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. In fact, I kind of don't like it. I feel like in a game like Path of Exile, or some of the PS2 Diablo clones like Baldur's Gate, Dark Alliance, and the Champions of Norath, you weren't swarmed by as many enemies, and so it made each enemy feel a little bit more threatening and a little bit more special. And I kind of got tired in Diablo 3 of feeling so powerful that I could take on and just blow up, these swarms of enemies that are surrounding me, and I'm just like, die all of you, die all of you. I kind of like that feeling of, oh my gosh, when 3 monsters are attacking me at once, it's a serious situation, So, at a second look, I was like, it doesn't disappoint me all that much to not be an Xbox One player. But you know what? If you liked Diablo 3 and you like that feeling of just like slamming through waves of enemies that are all swarming you at once, take a look at the trailer for this game. It looks like, if you want that on a console experience, that this might be really, really cool. All right, well, let me now talk about the games I'm going to start saving for, the games that I saw for the first time, or no, I didn't say none of these for the first time did I see at E3, but this year, but games that I saw more of at E3 this year that I'm like, okay, start planning for in your finances right now. And the first one is Mad Max, which is coming out September 1st. Now, I saw Mad Max Fury Road, and according to reports, the game is not as good as that movie, but that movie was awesome. And this game is reportedly great. Not awesome, but great. And I will totally be on board for a great Mad Max game right now. Lots of car driving. It's open world action with RPG elements. You can upgrade both Max and your car. And from looking at some of the gameplay demos, just looking at the health bar, it would be situated around one of the elements of your HUD, like a circular element of your HUD. And just the way that health bar started to curve slightly around that circular element, I was like, oh yeah, you're totally going to be able to upgrade your health as the game progresses. And as long as you can do that, that's like RPG element enough for me. If I could just pump, experience points or whatever it is that you get into health, into defenses and stuff like that, then that can help me get through an action experience like this. And also death I read in Game Informer a couple months ago, is very forgiving, and you keep all the items that you gained and just respawn in a kind of a local area, and then you can go at it again. So between the RPG elements of being able to upgrade both Max and your car, and the forgiving failure state when you die, this sounds like it's totally a game that I can do in terms of my sucky action skills, and also a game that I will really, really enjoy for just what it is, this post-apocalyptic open world RPG. But I think the driving, I'm looking forward to Fallout 4 a ton more than this game. And so this game, but I wouldn't buy this game, I think, if it didn't have all the driving elements. I think that's something that's really going to set it apart from Fallout 4, is the ability, this major car focus, It also has slow motion target assist with the main weapon of the car, which is the harpoon. And so again, that indicates friendliness to non-shooter players like me. It's got a great focus, it looks like, on the tactics of car combat. You get different weapons, you got like these flames that can burn the cars that come up next to you on either side, or you can strategically target your harpoon, the wheel of a car with your harpoon and yank that sucker out, or target a person and yank them so that they're like being dragged behind you. So it looks like in the sense that Fury Road was this really crazy, wild, violent world where like just human nature is set loose in the worst possible sense, and so that's a world that I'm very interested in exploring and kind of surviving in, as it were. Let's see here. You've lost your Interceptor, for those familiar with Mad Max lore. That's kind of like his main car, but you've lost that car, which I'm wondering if that could make this feel like a sequel or prequel to Fury Road, because well, no, I don't want to talk about Fury Road. No spoilers. Anyway, but you've lost your Interceptor, and you're aiming to replace it with your Magnum Opus. It's called the ultimate wasteland vehicle that you are trying to create over the course of this game, so that ultimately you can find a way out of the wasteland and find a life of peace somewhere to forget and heal from all the loss that you've experienced. That's just a part of Max's origin story, is that he lost his wife, he lost his daughter, he's experienced so much loss, and that's kind of what has driven him mad, and in his stories, he's inexorably drawn into the lives of people that need his help, and he begins to kind of lower his guard and start feeling just enough compassion to help them somehow along the way, but at the same time, at some point he steals himself and moves on. So it's it'll be interesting to see kind of how that plays out in this long-term story experience in this game. The overarching gameplay involves capturing and utilizing strongholds to further your goals. Apparently, you can capture these strongholds and then customize them, and each stronghold maybe can yield certain things that will help you along with the rest of your goals long-term. Lots of car driving, as I said, and combat with resource management, including food, water, gas, scrap, and different things like that. You're managing all those resources as you move through the game, and you're upgrading, as I said, both the vehicle and Max in terms of his equipment and his abilities. Very excited for the potential of that game. I don't think it's a day one purchase for me. I think that's let's wait until I see the reviews from the major outlets. But other than that, I'm definitely going to be beginning to set aside money for it. In addition to setting aside money for the other PC game that will keep me busy probably until I before I get around to playing Masquerada, and that is Divinity Original Sin. Although I'm not going to play this on PC because it's coming to console, Xbox One and PS4. They're aiming for the end of October. Maybe that'll fall into November, who knows? But that's what they're aiming for right now, is the end of October. Now this is a top-down party-based RPG with turn-based combat. I mean, I'm very much into that. I wish it was real-time with pause. That's my preferred top-down tactical RPG experience. But I'll take this as well. It looks really cool, and I've heard just nothing but awesome things about the PC version. Now this port, quote unquote, is actually a recreation of the entire game. The developers said that they think of this as a completely new game, a completely new experience. It's got a new ending. They've redone a ton of the skills and abilities that they weren't happy with, and it's now fully voiced, and this was really cool. I wish I could show this to you. But it has like a very intuitive user interface for the gamepad. I can't remember who was doing the demo, but I saw one of the media outlets doing a demo with this thing. And with these kind of games, it's all about pointing and clicking on things to look in chests and open up barrels and decide which enemy you're going to attack and all that kind of stuff. And they have created entirely new user interfaces so that people with a gamepad can totally do all of those things. Like one example would be you move your character so that he's facing the objects that you want to pick up, but maybe there's a few objects kind of like in your field of view, and if you didn't quite highlight the right one that you were intending to look at, just a simple shoulder button will move it over to the right or to the left to the next available object that you could potentially interact with. There's also like where you can press one of the stick buttons and it will scan everything in a certain radius around the character, and then boom, a window opens up and it's got a list of things that you can choose to interact with just by scrolling down and selecting them. And so it just looks like they've done a ton to make this accessible to someone that just wants to bum on the couch with a gamepad and play this really immersive kind of PC RPG game. So very excited about all that they've done for this that I've seen firsthand. Like, this looks great. Again, I'll still probably wait for reviews because at the end of the day I didn't play it myself, but I am going to set aside some money for it. This is also really cool. It has co-op, and apparently like couch co-op. Couch or online, I wasn't completely sure. It really looked like couch co-op to me, that goes into split screen when needed. So for example, you're controlling a party of say 3 to 4 people, then your friend comes over and you're like, hey, you want to bum on the couch and play some Divinity with me? Okay, you hand him a controller, and then you go to a menu and you select which character or characters he will control, which you can change on the fly as you play the game. So it's drop in, drop out co-op, and then he will control those characters as you play the game. And if he moves, I saw this, if he moves his characters far enough away from your characters, then the screen will split, kind of like I saw in the later Lego games, like Lego Batman. I saw this feature used. You share a screen until you move far enough apart to warrant splitting the screen, at which point the screen is split and you guys can go off and do your own things. I mean, it's really, really cool. Current owners on Steam and GOG that have purchased this game will get this new version for free. I'm not sure if on these, I would assume that you can plug in a gamepad and play it that way on your PC now if you want, or when this update comes out. But I thought that was really cool that Steam and GOG owners of this game on PC will get the new version for free. Very cool. The other game that's got my attention, which is coming out on PS4 by the end of 2015 and on Xbox One as well, is Sword Coast Legends. It's coming to both current gen consoles, but no footage shows the gamepad play yet. Even when they showcased it on the Xbox One stage and the PlayStation stage, they or on those channels, I mean, they were showing PC gaming footage. All the hotkeys were numbered instead of associated with like XB or triangle or whatever. It's going to be playable over PlayStation Network. I did watch an interview with the developers on the PlayStation channel. There's reportedly a long single-player campaign, and there's also a Dungeon Master tool, which I recently learned Divinity also has. But there's a Dungeon Master tool that will allow a Dungeon Master to create adventures and then also live during the game interacts with players as a Dungeon Master. Part of the vision includes online players playing this game together, voicing their own characters over online chat. So the Dungeon Master would be voicing all of the monsters and the people that the players interact with. Monsters can be AI controlled, or in boss fight situations, the Dungeon Master can take control of the main boss in that encounter on the fly and take advantage of all their abilities and stuff. I would totally play this with people online that I know. And I hate playing online. I avoid it like the plague. This, I think I would play online with people that I knew. That said, this will be an interesting experience. It's not going to be the tabletop experience or the video game experience. So if you're expecting a tabletop experience where you can see each other and you can see that look in your Dungeon Master's eye when he does something weird and quirky as he's representing this character, you're probably going to miss that unless they have some kind of picture-in-picture feature, which they didn't mention and I haven't seen in any of the demos or anything like that. So I don't know. But without that visual the ability to look at your Dungeon Master, to look at the other players and stuff like that, it's going to be missing something of that, of that tabletop experience, And at the same time, when you sit down for a video game experience like this, I don't know. I'm used to like being able to go at my own pace and stuff like that, and it just have a certain experience of like, reading text or having it fully voiced and stuff like that. It'll just be a little bit weird to be playing this video game where like some dude that you're playing with online, which is presumably your friend, is voicing these characters and is maybe kind of stuttering as he figures out, as game masters do, trying to figure out, okay, how would this character react to this player? There'll just be kind of this slower paced, potentially awkward moments that'll come with a game like this. It's just going to be a weird or potentially awesome mashup of the tabletop and video game RPG experience that I'm really curious to see how that plays out. At the very least, this game interests me for the solo campaign and for the potential that Neverwinter Nights had, where players created these modules, maybe converted from classic paper and pencil published adventures or their own creations and stuff that they can put online that you could play for free. Hopefully, they'll allow you to download other people's modules and adventures and stuff for free. But I mean, that adds so much crazy replay value to a game like Neverwinter Nights, and to think about that potential for a new game with these kind of graphics, and then also with a gamepad bumming on my couch playing this. Oh my gosh. If this thing meets my my vision for it, I mean, I could see myself not buying another game for a year and just playing this. Nothing but this. Oh my gosh. Regarding the gamepad, since I didn't see any footage that showed the gamepad being used like I did with Divinity, I'm very confident that they've created a user interface that totally works with gamepad. I have no idea if Sword Coast Legends is going to be able to do that or not. So regarding the PS4 gamepad, the developer only commented on the speakers. They asked, what kind of things will you take advantage of with the PS4 DualShock, blah 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 blah. And he said, do you like the touchpad or the motion control? And the developer said, the speaker has me interested. Like maybe monster sounds could come out of the speaker, but that's still really in development. We don't know exactly what all the final things are that we're going to do with that yet. So that has me a little bit nervous because I wanted to hear about, okay, well, how is it going to work with a gamepad, period, Xbox One or PS4? But of course, the PlayStation guy was asking specifically about the PlayStation 4 gamepad features. So I can see why he might have been specifically responding to the speaker issue. It wasn't quite the question that I wanted the guy to ask, but we'll just see. We'll just see if it works as well as the Divinity gamepad experience looks like it's going to work. Anyway, but the game that I'm easily the most excited for, and it's like a no-brainer that I'm going to have money set aside for it. I will buy it day one. I will possibly even pre-order it, and that is of course Fallout 4, coming out November 10th. I'm so excited for this game, and I already talked about it in my my video about the Bethesda stage show, so I'm not going to go into any more about it, but I'm so stoked for this game. And yet I remember the same feeling for Skyrim, which was awesome for many months. I played the crap out of Skyrim, loved it. But at the end of the day, 350 hours later, it did eventually become repetitive and had lengthy load screens. And so that just reminds me that, there's a danger for us as gamers in placing our hopes for happiness in the things of this life. At worst, they let us down, and we feel like this massive lasting blow of disappointment when this movie or this game or this book or whatever it is that we've just been anticipating, we finally experience it and it's just crap. And that can, in the worst case scenario, I think bum some people out for days. And in the best case scenario, my experience with Skyrim, I think they excite us, they satisfy all of our gamer nerd itches, for a while, maybe quite a while, but ultimately they lead only to disappointment, and then kind of this perceived need for that next fix, if that's where we're putting our hope for a good, fulfilling life in. So I think that it's always good to remember that we gotta. Speaking for myself, at least, I can't be alone in this, but speaking for myself for now, I'll limit it to me. I got to rewire my brain to have an eternal perspective, or the wrong perspective is going to creep in and it's going to mess me up. And even this week I noticed, I felt at one point in the middle of the week this emptiness and this sense of mortality that I was like, man, I'm kind of in a funk at the end of the day. What is this all about? And I realized that because my schedule was all messed up, that I'd been forgetting time. I'm forgetting my normally blocked in time to spend with God in prayer and in the Bible, and just kind of reminding myself of what is true about myself, about my purpose, about the world, and what each day of my life is about. And when I lose sight of that purpose, then I kind of get in this funk. So I think that I need to lock my eyes on the hope that I have, that all believers have in Jesus, and the hope we have in the eternal life of rescue from disappointment that he promises. We can absolutely enjoy wonderful things now. Absolutely. There are many things to enjoy now that should be enjoyed now, and the Bible encourages our enjoyment of them now, but they only have beauty and wonder for a limited lifespan that they possess. And the Bible's also clear about that. And that should cause us to look to eternity and to a future that we can't possibly imagine. Ecclesiastes 3:11 tells us about the nature of pleasure and beauty in this life. It says, he has made, this is the NIV, it says, he has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the hearts of men, yet they cannot fathom what God has done from beginning to end. And then 1 Corinthians 15:19 through 20, I'll leave you with this thought. In the ESV, it says, if in Christ we have hope in this life only, we are of all people most to be pitied. But in fact, Christ has been raised from the dead, the first fruits. He's the forerunner, in other words. He's the model of what will become of those who have fallen asleep. All right, that's it for now. I hope you found this video interesting and useful, and I also hope you'll stop by ChristianGeekCentral.com and join us there as we continue to geek out and seek the truth.
ChristianGeekCentral.com